All right, welcome. Great to have you with us. The Phillies won last night?
They did. No, they did win 8-4, right?
Yeah. I don't
think so. I think they won 8-4.
You just figure since you were.
Well, the highlight of the day of the night, unfortunately, will be that it was the last. I'm almost certain was the last dollar dog night at Citizens Bank Park.
Did they do it again?
They did. Yeah, they won 8-4 last night.
So they threw hot dogs at each other?
Threw hot dogs at each other much of the night, yes. So
that's why
I'm going to guess that will be the last dollar dog night.
That's why I was laughing when
in Philadelphia.
I think there's talk that the Eagles might play on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I think that talk is confirmed. I think they're going to play the Giants at 4:30.
And if they play on Christmas Day, to me, I would bring Santa Claus.
Oh, you got to bring him
in combination with Dollar Dog Day.
Oh, no.
You wonder why your city has a bad rap.
Yeah, that's the... It's as much as you laugh about it right now because, to my knowledge, nobody was seriously injured. Somebody get hurt doing that. Yeah. You got it. You throw that from the upper deck and you hit somebody, you're liable to hurt somebody.
I know how it started. The dollar dog thing in Philadelphia. There was one guy that was trying to act like he was at the Nathan's hot dog contest, and he was trying to eat as many as he could. So they started tossing the hot dogs into him. And then it broke out where they started throwing hot dogs at each other. It's like, great.
That was lost last time. This one they were winning 8-4.
Sixers were great last night. I think the Celtics only got it into single digits once.
Yes, they couldn't get it. It wasn't past 9 at halftime. After half,
Couldn't get past 9, and the Sixers dominated. Embiid was great.
Yeah, all three. Yeah, that's
Maxey was great, and they just went to Boston and tore them apart last night. So now it's back to Philadelphia, and Denver won over Phoenix last night. So Brett McMurphy reported on Twitter that the Big Ten is considering taking out the one Power 5 game that you have. Now, Penn State is scheduled to play West Virginia this year, next year. Then they have Temple on scheduled in 26-27. 24, 20, let's see, 25, 26, and then in 27, 28, Syracuse.
Yep.
So Syracuse would be a Power 5 team. Temple is not there in the American. And so we'll see what happens with that moving forward. I mean, as of right now, I'm still getting the impression that the lean is to keep it at 9. Because you do need to give, even though you have 16 schools, I think there's a need to keep flexibility so schools can get to 7 home games. Look, you can go to 10, but that would X out any possibility. Well, let's not be dramatic about it, but it would X out most possibilities of scheduling a home and home with somebody. Because you'd have automatically 5 home, 5 away. So you'd have to get yourself 2 bye games to get to 7. And we all know that at least here at this university, 7 home games is part of the financial formula. And we've talked about that forever, going all the way back to Joe. I mean, when it was 11, Joe would talk about how critical it was to have 6 home games. Okay, well then when they got to moved it to 12, the talk was, hey, you got to have 7.
Yep.
Because that's part of the financial formula needed moving forward. So, yeah, you can go to 10 conference games if you want, but that means you have 2 bye games in all likelihood. That would be wherever you want to put them in the schedule. I have not heard anything about 10. I've only heard about 9, and I've heard about the possibility of 1 through 16. I've heard about the possibility of a 3-6-6 model. I mean, these are just possibilities. Nothing's etched in stone. They haven't voted on it yet. The 3-6-6 model would mean that you would play 3 teams home and away every year. You would then play 6 teams in sequence 1 year, and then flip-flop the home and aways the second year. Then the other 6 teams would then be on the schedule for years 3 and 4. That way, in a 4-year span, you will play everybody home and away in the conference. That's what the 3-6-6 model means when you have 16 schools. They also have to make a decision on basketball as to how they want to do that. Do you want to keep it at 20 games, which would mean 5 home and aways, and then 10 one-plays? Or do you want to go to 21, which is 6 home and aways and 9 one-plays? Or do you want to go to 22 games, which would keep it at 7 home and aways, and then also give you 8 one-plays? 20 still gives you the flexibility, especially look at the tournament Penn State's scheduled to be in this year. It's another 3-game tournament they're in this year. There's also the Gavitt games, the Big East Challenge. There is no more ACC challenge, but that doesn't mean you can't go out and maybe get a Big 12 challenge, as an example, because Fox has the rights to has some of the rights to Big 12 basketball to go with football as well, so you can do that. Okay, that's fine, but that's your scheduling flexibility right there. So just take the basics that we know. There's no challenge out there except for the Big East. Okay. So that means that you now have the flexibility of scheduling 7 other games of your 11 non-conference games. But there are going to be years where you're in a tournament where it's just 2 games. Like, for example, when Penn State went to the Barclays Center in 2019. That was a 2-game tournament. So that means you'd have to have the flexibility of 8 non-conference games as to how you want to schedule it. And so that's what those decisions will come down to. You want to keep it at 20, you want to go to 21, you want to go to 22. And my gut is you want to go to 20. And there's also something else that always has to be brought up when you're thinking about more games in conference. And that means the conference then controls more inventory. Games or inventory. So let's see what they want to say about it. But my gut is, and it's only a gut feeling, that it's 9 for football and 20 for basketball. And then we'll see how they want to go about doing it. I think the difficulty in scheduling with USC and UCLA, I think is you have to figure out how to do the football, basketball part, but I think it's the other sports. And again, it's just without being in the room, I just got a feeling the other sports become the bigger problem as to how you want to schedule it. Because you're talking about the sports that are not that are on the negative side of the revenue expense sheet. So how do you want to handle that? So we'll see how that goes. Bob Huggins is going to be docked $1 million. He, in all likelihood, will get suspended, and they have not said for how long. And he's going to have to go through counseling after uttering slurs on WWL and the Bill Cunningham show this week. He's expected to sign an amended contract agreement today that will knock his salary from $4.2 million down to $3.2 million. He's going to meet with President E. Gordon Gee. He met with E. Gordon Gee yesterday. And the decision, Gee also met with the Board of Trustees. And so it sounds like he is going to have to get his salary go from 4.2 to 3.2 They have not announced a suspension, but everything seems to indicate there'll be some sort of suspension, which will be at the beginning of the season. And how many games at the beginning of the season, I don't know. And then, of course, he'll have to go through counseling. So that's the Bob Huggins situation. Mike Krzyzewski is now going to be an advisor at the NBA level. Special advisor to basketball operations. He'll be present next week with the league's general managers meeting in Chicago, coinciding with the draft and the draft combine. Okay. Smart man. Yeah. By the way, in the Olympic basketball part, you know what his record was in the Olympic basketball? Along the way? He worked with NBA players. USA Basketball's senior team. Now, he didn't coach all these games, but they won 2 basketball World Cup gold medals and 3 Olympic gold medals. They went 88-1. It's not bad.
Yeah, he did all right. He was an assistant on that 92 team, too, that Chuck Daly coached. Well, man, that team had what? Chuck Daly, PJ Carlissimo, and him as an assistant. Yeah. Not only the greatest team ever assembled, he got a pretty darn good coaching staff, too.
Do you know what the greatest stat is from that team?
The fact that they won every game by 20 plus.
It's nice. Chuck Daly never called a
timeout. I remember the old through the scrimmage where they played the college guys, and he.
Well, I saw that. You ever see the scrimmage in Monte Carlo?
What when they practiced each other? Oh yeah. Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
You ever watch that
intense?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Magic led a team, and Jordan led a team, and Christian Laettner I felt bad for because he didn't get in. He wasn't getting in. Not as a college guy playing that. Those two, he had 10 Hall of Famers on that team.
He got to be an observer.
Yeah, an observer of 10 Hall of Famers. Okay. That was literally, people talk about greatest teams ever assembled. In my lifetime, as so far to this day, and I may not ever see one. I've never seen a better team than that. No. Not at all.
No. Okay, Hunter Dickinson goes to Kansas.
Yeah.
So what role did name, image, and likeness play in it? Well, according to his Round Ball podcast, it played a significant role.
Hey, he's honest.
He said the people hating on me would leave their job right now for a $10,000 increase. I got, at Michigan, less than 6 figures. Again, I got less than 6 figures at Michigan for the year. Well, evidently, he's not getting less than 6 figures
no,
at Kansas.
Apparently not. Yeah, I think when he says that, I'm going to guess he's getting 6 figures in Kansas. Hey, and I admire the honesty. That's like there are people that will tell you, it's not about that. And yeah, that plays a role. So 99 times out of 100, that plays a role.
Dickinson said he still has an appreciation for his time at Michigan, but at times he said, quote, last season sucked because we lost. He received
that is going to happen.
Well, imagine how he felt here.
Yeah,
they lost by 30.
Dominated that day. That was the day of the NFC and AFC championship games.
So Dickinson wore a ski mask to a Wisconsin game last season, a day after the Michigan State mass shooting, a move that angered Michigan fans, or angered Michigan officials, not fans, officials. Dickinson reportedly wore the ski mask because he wanted to, quote, steal a win against the rival Badgers. Believe me, up there in Madison, they do not like him. I still do love Michigan, he said. I still love the school and everything. I love the program. That's why it was so hard to leave, because I really didn't want to leave. I didn't. But it just felt like it was the best decision for me. It took a lot of courage. Okay. Sorry, you lost me on that one.
On that one, yeah. I'm not sure where he's going at with that. Took a lot of courage. What's he talking about? That's...
I don't think people realize how much courage it took for a guy who was there for 3 years, an All-American for the team. Okay.
It may have taken a lot of courage when the transfer portal made you sit out a year, and that was, 15 years ago. It doesn't take any courage now, and we're in an era that we're in now in college sports and NIL, especially where he just openly admitted NIL played a pretty darn big role in his move there. No, I'm not buying that. He's full of it.
Okay. There are levels of courage.
Yeah, that level of courage is pretty much hit the floor.
All right.
Yeah, no.
Saving somebody's life.
Yeah. That is admiration.
Facing danger and saving somebody's life.
Any kind of adversity that you were facing. Yeah.
Okay. Pat Boland.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who fought cancer every day and ended up, unfortunately, losing the battle. Showed courage every day. That's courage.
That's courage. Yes, sir.
Okay. Somebody in the face of danger. Courage. Transferring to Kansas is not courage. Sorry.
Transfer to Kansas and getting a big bag of money that puts you to six figures when you weren't at six figures previously does not take courage. If it took courage, you wouldn't be talking about it.
He says, I did have a legacy there, and I basically gave that up to be selfish and do what was best for me in my career, not what was best for anybody else's career. I'll say this, that's honest.
I was going to say, I said that earlier, I admire the honesty out of the guy, because I don't think there are too many people who would be saying these things.
Right? Dickinson said he strongly considered every school on the list. He called Kentucky a risk, but said that Coach John Calipari's reputation for sending big men to the NBA was a factor. At Villanova, Dickinson said he loved its playing style and the family approach of the program. Maryland would have been homecoming for him after growing up in the D.C. area, but Kansas just felt like the best option. I think this is the best place for me. It checks all the boxes. Gee, I wonder which gigantic
box does it check? The box you could open and reveal stuff you could spend.
Worst case scenario, it still works out fine for me at Kansas.
I like how he says worst case. That's... I do like the honesty out of the guy. I really do. There's no doubt about it. And he's spot on about Calipari sending big men to the NBA. Absolutely. We've seen it. Have they succeeded, aside from Anthony Davis? Not really. But he does have the pedigree. Yeah, I agree. Villanova's style a little bit different now than it was 3 years ago. But, I admire the honesty, if anything, out of the guy. But I would not call it courageous. I would not call it an act of bravery that entering the transfer portal and going to a school that it can contend in the top 15 to 20 every year. I could be wrong, but that's not my version of act of bravery.
Courage. Let's use
courage, bravery, you name it.
Okay. The Jets and the Dolphins will play in the NFL's first ever Black Friday game. It will be 3 o'clock at MetLife Stadium, so it'll be after this show is over with.
Yeah, it's going to be...
Now, the game is going to be on Amazon. Al Michaels said, we're going to sell a lot of products that day. Al Michaels did say that when he was on Michelle DeFoy's podcast. We're going to sell a lot of products that day.
Al Michaels, to his credit, has seen it all. That's a guy that can, anything that comes out of his mouth, you're gonna take. It's not taken with a grain of salt. It's taken with complete. Yep, that's the truth.
And by the way, if you don't have Amazon Prime Video, it actually is going to be free access that day.
Hey, that's a good move on Amazon's part. Absolutely great move on Amazon's part.
Okay. I'm not here to promote Amazon Prime.
That's still a great move.
Okay, I'm not here to promote that.
Still a great
move. I do
move.
want to point out that if you do have Amazon Prime, the movie Air with Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck, about Nike and Michael Jordan, they have it starting Friday night.
That's going to be very interesting. And that was really, there's no question. Not to go off topic.
I know, we'll get back to the schedule in a moment.
No question that that swung the pendulum of shoes. The Nike was very little known, and that's the biggest reason I think. People call Michael Jordan the greatest of all time, and I do too, just for that. I think not only what he did on the floor. I don't think there's any question what he did on the floor speaks for itself. But that stuff, the marketing, everything that he brought into sports, that you're not going to be able to bring in again.
Well, Sonny Vaccaro's the guy that...
Yeah, and Tinker Hatfield with his shoe design absolutely was a big part of it.
But Sonny Vaccaro, have you ever met Sonny Vaccaro?
I never have.
I've met Sonny Vaccaro many times. All right. And I'll tell you who really knows him pretty well. Paul Alexander knows him pretty well.
Football? Now, I've met good friend of mine. I've met him several times.
Because remember, Sonny's a Pittsburgh guy.
Yes.
Okay. And I've met Phil Knight a few times.
Met Phil Knight once, yeah.
All right. And then I've interviewed. I only met Jordan once, but I interviewed Jordan. I did a one-on-one with Jordan.
Yeah, the only closest I was to Michael was the MJ was the press conference here when he played the Sixers at the Jordan Center.
And what was interesting about the 80s was that Sonny had come up with the idea of, hey, look, let's talk about let's stay away from Jordan for a moment, because that's a separate topic.
Yeah.
About the Air Jordan shoe and the negotiation. That's all part of the movie.
Yeah.
But he came up with the idea of getting college coaches to get Nike apparel, but get them money. And Jim Boeheim will freely admit that in the 80s, he made more money from Nike than he did from Syracuse. Right? I mean, and he said, "You're going to give me money to do that, just to have us wear the uniforms and the shoes?" Right? And not only that, he said, "We got sweatsuits out of it and things like that."
Yeah,
they were all like, "Hey, the apparel's great. Oh, and I get cash too. That's great." And his idea was, hey, look, Syracuse is wearing Nike. Hey, look, Penn State's wearing Nike.
Hey, look, Penn State's been with Nike since about 93, 94, yeah.
Right? And so, there was a time, they finally unified the contract. I want to say in 93 they unified the contract. Because before then, in the 80s, Joe was Nike, Bruce Parkhill was New Balance, and Rennie Portland was Adidas. See, everybody had their own, all right? And they finally then united the contract in the early 90s, and then it's been Nike ever since. But that's how they did it. All right, so now back to the NFL. Right? I had to throw that little Amazon Prime.
That's going to be interesting, I think.
I'm going to watch it.
Same here.
I have a speech down in Lancaster, but it's one thing about Prime Video. It's like whenever you want to watch it, you can. So Black Friday game, Amazon's got it.
Yep.
Let's see. Other holiday games announced include the Giants and the Eagles, as you mentioned, on Christmas Day.
Yep.
And the Bengals and the Chiefs on New Year's Eve. The international games have been announced. Jacksonville is going to play in London twice. Jacksonville was scheduled to play in London twice in 2020, but the pandemic moved those games back here. So it's going to be on October 1st, Falcons and Jaguars at Wembley Stadium. And by the way, the Jags agreement is to play one game at Wembley. So they're going to do that. Falcons in Atlanta, that will be at Wembley on October 1st. Jacksonville then stays there and will be the road team, with the Bills being the home team at Tottenham in London. Then on the 15th, it's the Ravens and the Tennessee Titans at Tottenham. And then the two games in Frankfurt will be the Dolphins and the Chiefs on November 5th, and the Colts and the Patriots on November 12th. So there you are. Those are the international games. And, of course, Dolphins and Chiefs means it's Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Going up against his old team.
His old team, yeah.
I'll say this, the game in Frankfurt last year that had Tampa Bay playing Seattle. The Bucks won 21-16 was a huge success in Frankfurt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The 5 European games will all begin at 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Eastern time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So they'll give you a quadruple header if you want.
That's I think the one of the better parts of this. Obviously, you broaden to the international part of the game, which you've been doing really since 2012 or so now,
Sure.
which they've done a great job of doing. But I think the other part of it, you now have that extra game too that you're able to show to your audience. You have that extra, you said quadruple header, because
Right.
the NFL is always going to be the king. People can't get enough NFL. Now you get that extra game. Yeah, you can watch football at 9:30 in the morning, and you now have it all the way up until 11 o'clock midnight. So that's your Sunday.
I don't watch the 9:30 games. On
I don't watch
Sunday.
in its entirety. I can't. No, I can't.
I mean, I think
that's-
I watched. I think the last time I watched a London game was I watched the fourth quarter of a Packers Giants game.
I remember
Was
that
that
game.
2
yeah.
years ago?
Yes, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago.
I think that's the last time I watched one of the 9:30 games. I don't,
49ers played, I want to say the Jaguars a couple of years
Well, that's
ago.
your team,
That
so
was,
I
yeah, so I
understand
watched that one, obviously. I want to say the Eagles played one in London a couple of years back. That one I watched.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Other than that, yeah, I don't watch. But I'm occupied a lot on Sundays up until about almost lunchtime. So I'd probably catch the end of it, but I haven't watched a full London game yet.
Oh, I you know what? I've never watched a full London.
Yeah, I'm not
I
either.
never have.
We're a full game that started at 9:30, regardless of where it's been. Yeah.
Well,
London, Germany.
I'll bet. Let's see. When Penn State played UCF, it was an 8:30
That
a.m.
was-
game. Did you watch all of
Oh,
that?
I absolutely watched it. That was actually.
It was an 8:30 in the morning game Eastern time.
Was that 8:30 in the morning Eastern? Yeah, I
it was.
thought. Oh, yeah, it was. I'm thinking the tailgate. Yeah, we had the tailgate that day at. I want to say.
You probably would have had the
Yeah, 5:30?
5:30 in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah. I was thinking it was 5:30 game because of that. Yeah, 5:30 in the morning. I remember that day.
We would have been on.
Yeah.
At,
Yep.
We would have been on at
Yep.
7 a.m. Eastern.
Yep. Yeah, I fully remember that game. I did watch that game its entirety, obviously. Yep.
But
And Notre Dame Navy. I think I watched that game in Ireland.
I
Yep.
watched none of that.
Yep, I've seen
Now,
those.
again, some of these games take place, and I've got another game
Yeah.
someplace else
Yep.
or whatever. So, it's
Yep.
when it comes to college games, there's a good chance that
There's a good chance I missed some of the biggest college games.
that-
Absolutely,
yeah.
same reason. Yeah, we're occupied here.
all right. So
Yep.
I'm not gonna, there's a good chance I missed it because you're either traveling over to a game, getting ready for something.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I don't worry about that too often. I was looking at the standings today for baseball. Jeez, the Yankees play a lot of home games. They played 21 home games.
They've
already.
played a lot. Yeah, then
In
played
mackerel. And they got
Oakland
Oakland
last
right
night.
now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
Oakland?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, they play.
Oakland's awful.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they really are.
I mean, Oakland is.
They see they're rethinking the Vegas location, not the move, but the location of the stadium. Yeah, it's Oakland's. They've been a mess for several years, and part of that again is just did the city do enough for them? Probably not. But the other part of it is, did they do enough for the fans as a team? And I think that answer is probably not. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. You don't keep your free agents. You don't keep your MVPs.
Oh, no, they don't do that.
Yeah,
No,
that's
no.
after a while, it's like,
No, they don't do that.
yeah.
They're.
And I don't buy the Moneyball anything. At some point, you've got to show to your fans you are committed to building a winner. And
I don't know.
you go back to the Grant Balfour days where they won the division. He came out with all rage as a closer. That was exciting days at Oakland. You haven't seen him since.
Like the Moneyball thing, based on their financial structure, was their best way to win, right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
I would agree. But
And this is what I pointed out about the analytics part of any sport for a long time. Analytics, and that essentially is an analytics way of doing it, right?
sure.
Okay? Analytics is absolutely a way to win. Absolutely. So let's not pretend there isn't value to it, and let's not pretend it is a formula to winning, because it is. But it doesn't take into account that there are multiple ways to win, and that happens to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem I have with those who are strict on analytics. Those who are strict on analytics, that's the problem I have with that is simple. It's that I recognize it's a way to win. They don't recognize there are other ways to win. And they get very stubborn about it. No. Guys. And I know it's a numerical formula, but there are other ways to win. Right? Your way, by the way, happens to be one of them. If I've got a list of ways to go about winning, let's just say, let's just pick a number. There are 5, 6, 7, 8 different ways, methods to winning. Well, yours is one of them.
Sure.
Right? They don't want to recognize the other ones.
That's the problem. And that's, it's analytics, and we've seen it on the field have cost you games. Yeah, that's to me, it's, there's old school versions to me in terms of baseball. Use the move that makes the most sense to you, not what makes the most sense to the numbers.
Exactly.
That's to me is what just drives me nuts sometimes. He was pitching a gem. He threw 65 pitches through 8 innings, but I pulled him out. The analytics showed the righty was better on the lefty. Even the lefty just hit it 486 feet on him. That's the kind of stuff that drives you nuts.
By the way, Mitch Keller, complete game.
Yeah.
For the Pirates in a 2-0 win over Colorado, he threw 103 pitches. A rarity in today's game that somebody threw a complete game.
Yeah.
What always strikes me are the ones where he's got a no-hitter through 7.
Yeah, and they pull him
out.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. You can't tell me that pitcher is coming to the manager and saying, my arm's tired, I'm out. No. And I also don't buy, I didn't know I had a no-hitter. Yes, you do. When you get to the 7th and 8th inning, you know it. You might not have known it at the 4th, but you know it the 7th and 8th.
Well, at some point, do you glance at the scoreboard just to make sure what the score is?
Yeah.
Like all those zeros,
never.
Zeros in that bottom line?
Yeah, you weren't sure if you were winning the game or not.
Yeah, sure. You know you're winning the game. Yes, you do. You're kind of looking around saying, I don't remember giving up any hits. So, but that's the one that gets me.
Yeah,
Where you're sitting there going,
look at the World Series. How many pitchers for the Astros threw that no-hitter in game 4? Yeah, at least 4 or so.
Yeah,
against the Phillies. Yeah, you're throwing a no-hitter. I think you've earned the right to stay in there to give a hit up.
Yeah. Unless you're having the Doc Ellis version of the no-hitter where you've walked, what did he walk? 8, hit 1 or 3, or say hit 3, he walked a bunch of guys.
Talking about Doc Ellis or Nuke and Bull Durham?
Doc Ellis.
I say Bull Durham, he walked 18 and struck out 18.
No.
But then he hit the Bull mascot twice.
Yeah.
Doc Ellis. Wasn't it the radar didn't pick up anything over 55?
Okay, the Doc Ellis no-hitter, okay?
Yeah.
So, okay. His bizarre no-hitter.
Okay? Where he's pitching to Carlos Liston, he said, tell him to throw me a fastball. He said that was his fastball.
Okay. So, let's see. Right. I guess it all started out like, everybody, there's always been the drug accusations, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So he says, what are you doing tonight? You have to pitch tonight. And Dallas said, nah, I don't pitch till Friday. He they said, it is Friday. And he said,
man.
and his quote was, what happened to Thursday?
Oh, jeez.
So June 12, 1970, Doc Ellis's friend rushed him to LAX so he could make a 3:30 flight to San Diego. He floated him a $9.50 fee for the hourly shuttle. He arrived at San Diego at 4:30, first pitch scheduled at 6:05 for the first game of a twilight doubleheader. He then authored what was surely among the most bizarre chapters in baseball history. He would walk, I was correct, eight San Diego players.
Jeez.
He hit another.
Oh, my goodness.
He would throw 150 pitches. Bob Moose, who was supposed to chart for him, gave up after a while because he was all over the place. Willie Stargell did hit a pair of solo home runs. At 8:18, in front of fewer than 10,000 fans, Ellis threw strike three to Ed Spezio to complete one of the more unlikely no-hitters baseball has ever seen. He says, I don't think any of us in the Padres dugout had any clue he was throwing a no-hitter because we had runners on base every inning, says Dave Campbell, the former ESPN announcer who led off the Padres that night. Ellis was 25, making just his 57th career start, but the league already knew he was a force. Campbell says, I've always been asked, who's the toughest guy I ever faced? And I always said, Doc Ellis. His fastball is this great late movement, always seemed to be in one place.
Yeah.
When I'd start my swing and then move in another direction, it could sink, move into my hands, and it could sail like Mariano Rivera's cutter.
Yeah.
All right? Ellis says, I actually was seeing multiple home plates that night. I really didn't see the hitters, Ellis would admit later. This is years later. All I could tell is that they were on the right side or the left side. The catcher had tape on his fingers to help me see the signals, but I was high as a Georgia pine.
I had heard about that with the fastball, where you just never knew if it was a fastball. That was my point with the quote where he said, "Don't throw me a fastball." I said that was. He's all over the place. It's just literally it sunk like a curveball. It's it. Yeah, and that's a lot better than David Wells made up about 15 stories about his perfect game. Oh, he had a headache. Oh, he was hungover. Oh, he's not sure. No, this guy was legitimately. Doc Ellis was a legitimate spot where he had no idea where he was throwing the ball.
Well, in 1971, he was the starting pitcher in the All-Star game opposite Vida Blue, who just passed away.
Just passed, yeah.
And Sparky Anderson, the Reds manager at the time, and because they'd won the World Series, or excuse me, they'd lost the World Series. 1970, that was the Orioles that won it in 5, right? Gave Ellis the ball to pitch, and he pitched terrific for 2 innings, but in the third, he hung a curveball to Reggie Jackson, and it went over 500 feet.
Reggie got a hold of a baseball. He got a hold of a baseball.
Okay. 1974. Ellis admits that on that one he was, quote, hopped up on greenies. He took the mound and was mad when he faced the Reds because how chatty the Big Red Machine happened to be. He greeted leadoff man Pete Rose with a fastball right off his backside. He then hit Joe Morgan with his next pitch. Dan Dreesen got hit with his next pitch. He tried to hit Tony Perez, but Perez knew it was coming, tapped danced a 4-pitch walk instead. When he went 2-0 to Johnny Bench, Danny Murtaugh finally came out and just got him. 1971, though, Ellis was a 19-game winner for the world champion Pirates. That year in September, the Bucs fielded the first All-Black starting 9. Ellis always called that his proudest moment. In 1976, he was part of a steal of a trade in which the Yankees swapped Doc Medich for Ellis and a second baseman by the name of Willie Randolph.
Yeah.
He actually won 17 games for the Yankees in 76, and he won Game 3 of the ALCS for the Yankees. Ellis, by the way, in the home run that Reggie Jackson hit, 5 years later, he had not forgotten him admiring his All-Star Game moonshot, drilling him in the face one July night in Baltimore. When Ellis got back to the clubhouse, he found 3 $100 bills in his locker, courtesy of Billy Martin. My teammates didn't let me pay for a drink for the rest of the season.
That's unbelievable, but it's still...
Where?
Oh, my
You
goodness.
can't invent this guy.
Oh, man.
Okay?
And the fact that it came from Billy Martin's what's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy and Reggie had their moments. Quite a few of them.
Then after that, problems. All right. He went to the A's, the Rangers, the Mets.
Yeah.
He returned to Pittsburgh at the tail end of the '79 season. That year, he sought counseling for his drug habit. And he did beat his addiction. And he spent the rest of his life as a drug counselor, including some years on the Yankees payroll. He passed away in 2008,
yeah.
At the age of 63. In 2006, he said that I realize I'll always be known for that no-hitter and how it happened. I'm proud of the no-no. I wish it came with a story I could be prouder of. But he walked 8, he hit 1. And again, the Padres are sitting there like going, the Padres aren't sitting there and thinking they're being no-hit. They got guys on base left and right. Every time they turn around, there's somebody on base. It's like, holy mackerel. Oh, goodness. Mike Ficcaro's the one that wrote that story, I want to say 3 years ago. 3 years ago. God, bizarre. And by the way, his actual first name was Doc, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Doc Philip Ellis Jr. So, yeah. And he married a woman in 1985, and they stayed married until 2008. So, one of the great characters of the game. He was 138, 119 in his career, a 3.46 ERA.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's not bad. Member of the world champion Pirates in 71, pitched a no-hitter in 1970. Whew, man. Something else. You almost feel like you can't invent this stuff.
No, that's the kind of game where it hits that you find out eventually. The Padres eventually find out they're getting no hit because it hits like the 7th or 8th inning, and do we have a hit yet in this game?
I mean, Ellis says, I can only remember bits and pieces of the game. Really? And also, he was helped by a couple of excellent fielding plays by guess who, Bill Mazeroski, and center fielder Matty Alou.
See, that was the bright side. Well, not bright side, but the advantage Mickey Mantle had, that he was so good, because he would when he'd do this kind of stuff, and quite a bit, he would hit 2 home runs in 3 innings and be pulled by the 4th inning, so he had plenty of time to recover.
Yeah. I mean, geez, he only reported to the stadium 90 minutes before the game.
Good Lord. Thank goodness social media wasn't around at that time.
Ay, 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 ay.
Oh, boy.
I didn't think we'd talk about that today, but it just popped up.
Yeah, well, yeah. No,
Wow.
yeah,
It's Doc Ellis. It's, like, again, we're talking about...
I've seen some fun no-hitters in my lifetime. I don't think I've seen one like that.
that's the reason it came up, because of the...
The no-hitter, yeah.
Because of the no-hitter, yeah.
I remember there was one night. There was, 2 no-hitters in one night. Dave Stewart and Valenzuela threw them.
Yes, because my good friend John Sanders, and John was on the Penn State radio network in 1988 and 89 as the play-by-play voice. I was the 3rd guy at the time. In fact, I filled in for John on the Virginia game in 89, doing play-by-play. And John and I have remained, we still exchange messages to this day. John called one of the 2. He called the one in Dave Stewart's.
Dave Stewart's in Toronto.
In
yeah.
Toronto.
Yep.
John called that game on ESPN.
Yep. And then bounds away all through the nightcap. They were both on ESPN, too. Yeah, that was 2 no-hitters in one night.
Yeah. Amazing. So, well, so another interesting day would, you always know when it comes to the schedule, they let things slip out.
Mm-hmm. I always say that,
and it's deliberate because they're trying to, they're just trying to whet the appetite.
Yeah.
So I don't mind if it slips.
Yep.
I mean, look, this is okay. It doesn't really matter if it slips out. This is deliberate on their part to whet the appetite for you to watch because it's not. This is not game breaking.
No, if it's like the Eagles and Commanders, they're not gonna. Now if you let the 49ers Eagles slip out, you let the Bengals Chiefs slip out prior to today. Yeah, then you're gonna hurt yourself a little bit. But no, you let a game like two teams. Not saying two teams nobody cares about, but a game that's not gonna have the huge interest. You let that slip.
It doesn't matter. It's just a schedule.
Yeah,
you already know you're playing.
Well, you're playing, but you definitely want to hype your top 10, 15 games into that 8 o'clock spot as much as you can, because people are going to watch no matter what.
Yeah,
but
it's just a schedule.
It is, but they've turned it into an extravaganza.
Well, no. I'm saying though that's why it's okay to leak all this stuff out. That's my point. Is it's okay to leak it because it's like not really that important.
No, well,
to be honest with you, it really isn't. Look, the A's scored. It's 4-2 Yankees in the fourth inning. Pirates and Rockies are 3-3. Tigers and Guardians, Detroit leads 5-0 middle of the third. The Dodgers and the Brewers are scoreless in the bottom of the first. Joe Davis, who does the Dodger games, and they say because of all of his network TV commitments, you know how many Dodger games he can do out of 162? I think there's a cut down. I think the Dodgers broadcast 146 because of the nationally televised games and so forth. You know how many of those games he can do? 90.
90?
That's it. 90.
I'll tell you, they got Fox got very lucky, I would say, with their broadcasters when Joe Buck left. Davis is phenomenal.
He's a great guy to talk to because Joe's done Big Ten football, so he's done Penn State games, and he's done Big Ten basketball for BTN and the Jordan Center. And Joe is a terrific guy to talk to.
He's incredible.
No ego, nice guy. By the way, it looks like the Bob Huggins suspension, so the salary gets reduced $1 million. The suspension, in all likelihood, they think is going to be 3 games. Okay. So I thought I'd slip that in because we didn't know what the suspension number was earlier. And there's been no leaking of other NFL games since. Well, and they'll do this all day.
No, they'll do it all day. And you just never. And there are going to be leaks that are not correct.
Well, look, let's be honest. I mean, let's see. Let's start with your team. You know you're going to be playing at home, the Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks. Mm-hmm. Then you got the Cowboys at home. The Giants are at home. Bengals, Ravens, Buccaneers. The 9 away games are the Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks, obviously. Commanders, Eagles, Steelers, Browns, Vikings, and Jaguars. So you already know.
Yeah. I already know they're going to get 5 primetime games.
Now, would you go to Pittsburgh to see that Steeler-49er game?
I've never been one to go to the NFL. Like I've only been to a couple NFL games. I've not really been one to go to NFL games. So I would probably lean towards no. But the Steelers game, maybe. Lincoln Financial Field, no.
No. Especially if it's Dollar Dog Day.
That's.
All right. So now here's the next question. 49ers are playing a big game. Say the Steelers were undefeated.
Yep.
49ers were undefeated. They're playing in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
All right. Let's just say the game is late November.
Yep.
And Metallica has a concert that night you can make. Which one?
Oh, boy. Well, you know what? Are they the same time?
They're the same time.
Oh, that makes it even worse. I was going to say, if one's on TV, I would take the approach, one's on TV, one isn't. I would lean towards, if Metallica's playing here or something, it's going to be Metallica. If Metallica has a concert where I've got to drive 6 hours away, then it's the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the 49ers being on TV helps a lot.
Yeah,
that game's going to be on TV.
But they're opposite each other.
They're opposite each other.
Which means you can't see the game.
There's plenty of intermission in the concerts that would give me the ability to see the game, which would help even more. But so I'd watch the game one way or another prior to them taking the stage at 9 o'clock or whatever, 9:30.
Steelers' 9 home games will be the Ravens, Browns, Bengals, obviously.
Yeah.
Jags, Titans, Cards, Niners, Patriots, Packers. The away games are obviously Ravens, Browns, Bengals. Then it's the Texans, Colts, the LA Rams, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Seattle Seahawks. And for our Eagles friends out there, the Eagles will play, obviously, the Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders at home. And then the other games are the Cardinals, Bills, the Niners, Miami Dolphins, and the Minnesota Vikings. They're away games, and they've got 9 of them because the NFC's the one playing the 9 away games this year. Cowboys, Commanders, Giants, Patriots, Rams, the Jets, the Bucks, the Seahawks, and the Chiefs. Now remember, because they won the division, that's the first place schedule. Based on, because I thought the Eagles' schedule last year was a bastion of mediocrity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every single week, like, really? That's not,
it was.
Not good. Okay, the winning percentage, the Eagles' schedule this year is the number one winning percentage.
Tough.
I mean, 561 was the winning percentage of these teams last year. And remember, part of that is, and guess what? When you look at the top winning percentages of schedules, the first 8 teams are either NFC East or AFC East.
Yeah.
Because again, where the playoff teams come from.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, 3 playoff
3 from
teams.
the East.
Yeah,
and then
that's the reason why. But, so the top 8 are, in terms of percentage based on toughest schedule, are the Eagles, the Giants, the Commanders, the Cowboys, the Bills, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Dolphins.
Absolutely.
Those are all the first 8.
Yep.
Because of just the way it worked out last year, and it's just done by divisions. And you could see, and remember, you're playing in division, which means that's 2 right away.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, you automatically, if you're playing in the NFC East, you automatically get 4 games against teams that were in the playoffs last year.
Yeah. Yep. And for the Eagles, obviously, you're gonna have that Super Bowl rematch. You got the Chiefs,
right? But again, that's because you have the first place schedule.
Yep.
That's the first place schedule coming into play there.
Yeah. And they played teams that didn't make the playoffs. They're going to be tough games. You need to play the Jets on the road. There's another one they've got this year. So, yeah, absolutely. And they are going to have a tough schedule. There's no question about that. I could almost single-handedly guarantee in the first 3 weeks the Jets and Eagles will have a primetime game. Jets will probably be the first week. Eagles are going to have a primetime game for sure, week 1 through 3.
Okay.
I could almost guarantee that. I don't know anything, but I could almost guarantee that is going to happen.
One more Shohei Ohtani piece for you. Okay. He became the first player in the history of baseball to actually, he's the second player ever, but he surpassed Babe Ruth in this area. 500 career strikeouts as a pitcher, 100 career home runs as a hitter. Ohtani entered the game one shy of Ruth's total of 501 strikeouts. And then, of course, he passed the 501 when he took care of Jeremy Pena. That got him to 502. And now with 100 career home runs. Ruth is interesting in that when he went to the Yankees, which was, 1921?
Yeah.
He pitched, I think, a total of 5 games for the Yankees. Total. And So from 1921 to the end of his career, which was 1935, he only pitched 5 times. All of his starts, I shouldn't say all of them, the vast majority, obviously a gigantic majority, were with the Red Sox. And Ruth was an outstanding pitcher, by the way. There was a point where Babe Ruth did simultaneously hold the World Series record for most career World Series home runs with 15 and most consecutive scoreless innings pitched at 29 2/3. But I believe that Ruth, I think he only pitched 5 games with the Yankees. Everything else was with the Red Sox along the way. I'll just see if I can look up his. Just very quickly, I know we got like 1 minute to go here. I just want to. I think that was it. Further reading, I don't really care about further reading. Just give me some stats here. What are we doing? That's all I want is stats. His official website? No. His movie career? No. Come on. You got to be kidding me.
Because when I think of Babe Ruth, I think of his acting career first, long before his 714 home runs.
How are you, sport? How are you? Let's see. It's got to be his pitching. It's got to be in here, right here. Batting, standard pitching. Here we go. He pitched 5 games with the Yankees. All starts. See, you doubt me all the time. No, that's all you do is doubt me. It's actually, he pitched with the Yankees in 20. He won that game.
Nice.
2 games in 21, won both those games. Pitched 1 game in 1930, won it. 1933, won it.
Won it.
He won all. He won all 5 of them, and in the last 2 he pitched were complete games. The last 2 games he pitched were complete games in 1930 and 33. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So with the Red Sox, he was 89 and 46, 2.19 ERA. Okay. And he actually threw 1,190 innings for the Red Sox. Only gave up 934 hits and 290 earned runs. Only gave up 9 home runs, but the ball was dead back then. 5 games with the Yankees, 4 starts, 2 complete games, 5-0, 31 innings, but he gave up 40 hits. So he's starting to lose it. Oh my goodness! And then in the postseason, he won a bunch of World Series games with the Red Sox. He and I want to say Joe Wood were the 2 key guys for them. But yeah, that was his pitching. Once he got to the Yankees, from 1920 to the end of his career in 35. But yeah, Babe Ruth. So it wasn't a lot once he got to the Yankees. They just, with the Red Sox, he won 23 games, 24 games, 18 games. So he was 18 and 8, 23 and 12, 24 and 13, 13 and 7. Then he was 9 and 5, and they traded him. He only pitched 17 games. Like, jeez. So that's the Ruth lore.
That's yeah. He was okay.
All right. Back tomorrow. And tomorrow is the big schedule release day. So
it is.
More leaks tomorrow.
There will be.